Seminole football team hopes to kick off the 25 season with a statement against Alabama. Fall camp day number 11 for the Florida State Seminoles. All business here at the Dunlap practice facility, which looks out to Doak Campbell Stadium, where, as I just noted, in about 3 weeks, Florida State will enter that stadium and take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. But we're going to spend the next hour here as our fall camp road trip continues, talking about the Noles and what we can anticipate potentially in 2025. I am Taylor Tannenbaum, alongside former Florida State quarterback E.J. Emanuel, Roddy Jones, and Andrea Adelson. Yeah, we got the war chant playing here at practice. It is all business here in Tallahassee, but the vibes. I want to start there. What vibe are you getting now that we are on campus and watching them?
Yeah, well, the vibe is exciting. I think this is a team that obviously went through a tumultuous year last year, and you can get a sense from the coaching staff to the players that this is a fresh start. It's a new year. Nobody's going to try to carry over what happened in 2024. They're well into training camp at this point, so now I think the guys are probably ready to play an opponent, which is Alabama, but the vibes are really, really high right now.
Yeah, and we all know the deal for Florida State, right? It's the fact that we're turning the page on 24. You don't want to look back. It's blinders on, kind of like, Renegade would, the horse. Put those blinders on and move forward. I want to get to your storylines in a second, but we have to.
It's like a new roster, new coaching staff. Who dis? That's going to be the biggest thing for Florida State this year is how does this group come together? You look on the offensive side of the football, and there's a ton of new starters, particularly, obviously, at the quarterback position on the offensive line, but also at the skill, new coordinators. You mentioned them, Gus Malzahn and Tony White. A new role for Mike Norvell as CEO of this program, Andrea. All of it new. How does Florida State deal with all the newness?
The talent is there. That's never been a question. But are these guys going to play with heart, with the want to, with the work ethic that Mike Norvell wants to see out of this team? And he told me back in the spring he had to take a hard look at himself. Where was my message getting lost to these guys? I mean, they're a new team every year because they've used the transfer portal so much every single year Mike Norvell has been here, but last season something got lost in translation, and so that's part of the reason why we are seeing CEO Mike Norvell. He decided, I need to oversee this program more, not be so involved in the play calling and the day-to-day on the offense, but also try and connect with these guys to make sure that they are playing with that type of edge that was missing last year.
When you look at the storylines, you sort of just alluded to it at the top of the show. If there's a big thing you're looking for in this Florida State team, especially as an alum, and you put up on that jersey on Saturdays every week when you were here, what are you looking to see out of this team?
Well, I want to go back to what Andrea said, because a lot of the effort that you didn't see from Florida State last year, I don't want to see that here in 2025. Yeah. I think that's going to be the big thing, and also the leadership factor. When we saw them go through a couple losses in a row, then you start to say, well, where are the leaders? Where are the guys that are going to kind of step up and say, hey, look, let's stop the bleeding, boys. This can't happen again, and pull it together. But you didn't have that. Now, this year you bring in a couple different personalities, whether it's Thomas Castellanos, Jeremiah Wilson, Deuce Robinson, whoever it is. Usually the stars are the leaders, but then there's also some guys who maybe are second string or guys who have been here for a long time. Guys who were on that team last year that felt that embarrassment, that don't want that to happen again. So I'm looking for effort and leadership in this year's.
And looking forward, you got to turn the page. You have to move forward. And look, behind us is a beautiful new facility being built. We're going to talk about that.
Can't have money.
So as he alluded to, the vibes are high heading into 25, coming off of last year with a lot of.
Last year, it's not about anything that they've done up to this point in their career. It's about this season, with each day and every step that's in front of us, to go put it on display for what you want to be. Don't talk about it. Let's go do it. Right? And I feel the confidence within the team because, once again, I see their work. Right? I believe in who they are. I believe in the journeys that they've had. And no player on our team has had a seamless, perfect journey. There's been ups and downs for every one of them. But when they come and whether it was a recruiting process, whether it was the opportunity to come back and to be a part of what this team's going to be, I wanted guys that were on the edge of their seat, ready to go attack that work. And I can't wait to fall camp, because I'm going to challenge them every single day in everything you do, mentally, physically, relationally, all parts of it, because that's what the season's going to hold, right? And as we've seen that at an elite level, right, we also know we know how hard it is to win a game, to win a play, to win a rep, to obviously for what it takes for a season. But I believe in the group of guys that we've had that have come together.
That was at ACC kickoff. This is a look at the Dunlap practice facility here at Florida State, where Mike Norvell has been a very busy man heading into year 6 at the helm and trying to coach this 2025 team to be its best. He's joining us now on set. Coach, first of all, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. I know it's limited at this point in the season as you get ready for kickoff. But for you personally, this fall camp's a little bit different because you have given up the play calling duties that you've always done. How have you felt the difference as you've gone through the last couple of weeks?
I mean, it's been great, and you'll be able to have the flexibility to move all over and making sure that we're continuing to uphold the standard of what it needs to look like, how we play, that obviously technique, fundamentals, and it's been great. I got two wonderful coordinators. Leading the offensive defensive side of the ball, getting a chance to be there with the players is really just it's been a wonderful experience through the first 10 and a half practices.
So, Coach, as an offensive player in college and then also as an offensive coordinator, a long-time offensive person, do you still kind of lean to the offense in 2-minute drill or in team periods? Like, does it naturally give you the knack to, like, lean offense, or do you now
actually,
a little bit more fair with the defense?
I've always, even in the times where I was doing it on that side, I still, if it's close, it's going defense. Right? Offense got to go earn it on everything. But no, it's been a lot of fun. Obviously seeing guys come in, transition. Learning new terminology. Obviously you're building the relationship with the coaches. Understanding the expectation. But there's one standard at Florida State, and when you step on the field, it's going to be everything that you have. You with that moment, no matter what the circumstances are. And I want to see guys that respond in situations. Guys that are going to be able to fight through the adversity and just put their best out there on a daily basis.
Coaching the intangible stuff is one thing. Coaching the X's and O's is another, and Gus Malzahn is doing that on the offensive side of the football now. How do you mesh what he has done over the years with what you have done? There's certainly some similarities, but some differences too. How have those two things come together?
Yeah, I mean, and that's where I got my foundation. I started as a GA, under Coach Malzahn. You get to learn a lot of the elements of tempo, of different ways to be able to attack, and a lot of that is carried on. We have our differences in mindset approach, but I still believe that great coordinators, they're able to find and put the skills and talents of their best players to be able to showcase that. And he's been doing a wonderful job of that through spring, and now as we're getting into fall camp, we've got a couple scrimmages under our belt. It's fun seeing the offense kind of grow and work with the personnel that we have, and obviously one of the most innovative and best play callers I think in college football.
Like, we've talked a lot about trying to develop the leadership, the chemistry on this team so that when things get tough, how they're going to respond. Where do you feel like the guys are with that now?
No, I think it's been well earned, and they started earning it back in January, February. Throughout spring, our tour duty, spring practice, summer workouts. I mean, these guys have really poured into each other. They understand the expectations. But what I've loved is I've seen the players taking the ownership in it. To see guys that are willing to one, encourage, but also to call other guys up to that standard and expectation that we have. And we haven't had to do a whole lot of extra development when it comes to that, because guys are taking ownership of it, and that's one of the things that I've really been pleased with. I mean, and every player that's on this team, they knew coming in was December when they were when we were making real life decisions of guys that were going to be back, guys that were coming in, it was edge and desperation. I want guys that are going to put everything they have into the opportunity that's there. There's plenty of other dynamics that can tie into the decision making process, but man, it's about guys that are absolutely passionate to go be everything they can, and I'm seeing that with the steps within this football team.
So, Coach, we always try to learn from losses, from mistakes. What do you think you or this team learned the most from the 2024 season? I
mean, it's every day. Are you willing to fight for it? I mean, everybody at the beginning of the season is going to say the right things. Everybody's going to go through, and I mean, you can go and you can actually put in a lot of work. And you can have skill and talent, but at the end of the day, are you willing to compete with everything you have when it doesn't feel good, when it doesn't look good, maybe after the time that you get knocked down? We want to win. We want to win every play, and if you're not willing to compete to win on every play, man, then you don't have it in here. Right? But, in all reality, there's going to be plays that you lose. You're going to have every game. You're going to have a play that doesn't go how you want. But what do you do with that? What lessons do you learn? And, I got a lot of faith in what we do, how we do it, and I've got a lot of faith in where we're going. And some of those experiences, they shook people. I mean, they shook me. It's almost a refocus of, man, if we say that this is what we're going to be, that better show up, right? You can't talk about it and then not see it. And so, at the end of the day, there's been some changes that have been made. That I love the response that I've seen for our players. I love the leadership I'm getting from the coaches. We got to go fight.
Before we let you go, real quick, we got a tour of this new facility that's in the process of almost being finished. What's your take on what we have going on behind us?
I mean, it's truly special,
Yeah.
and it's a truly special facility for a truly special place.
Yeah.
And it's the work of guys that have come before us that have made that the reality that we're gonna be able to enjoy. We started putting this facility together. We talked about mind, body, and soul. And everything in that facility is going to help build these players to be the smartest, best football players they can be, within their development, to build their bodies. I know you guys saw just the recovery centers, the athletic training room, the weight room. I mean, state of the art. It's really special. And then for the soul, I want it to be a place that they love to be at, right? And it's not, we got the things necessary for them. With the locker room's going to be special. Obviously, all the different spaces where they can enjoy each other. Right. I mean, you get to do this one time, and I'm so grateful for everybody involved that have made this a reality. All of our boosters, right? Obviously our school administration, our board of trustees, president, athletic director Michael Offord. I mean, it's truly a special group that's come together to obviously provide one of the greatest facilities in all of college football for such a special place.
Got a lot of practice for him to get back to. We've got a lot more to talk about here from Tallahassee as fall camp practice number 11 continues. One thing Coach doesn't have to do is plan for this guy anymore on the other side, because that's his QB1 and Tommy Castellanos. We're going to go past and present. EJ Manuel, walk and talk.
Florida State. You got to remember, it's Florida State. They've won national championships. Now it's time to roll.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at how the Noles' new QB1, Tommy Castellanos, made his way back to the Sunshine State. And I say back because he started his college career at UCF, appeared in 5 games. His head coach there was now his OC here in Gus Malzahn. He then transferred to Boston College and had an historic 23 season where he became the first BC player to have over 2,000 yards passing and over 1,000 yards rushing in a single season. Then you flip over to 2024, and it started.
Thanks, Taylor. I'm here with QB1 of Florida State, Tommy Castellanos. Now, my first question for you, Tommy, since you've been here in Tallahassee, what's your experience been like as a Florida State Seminole?
It's been great. The fans and the community is, got behind me and just, showing support. So I'm excited to see, what the season brings.
Now, as the new quarterback, but also somebody who's played a lot of college football, you've had experiences, you won some big games, lost some tough games as well. How do you try to offer that advice to the younger guys on your team that you're going to lead?
Just, one game at a time. You're going to lose some, but you can't let that, affect you or the next game. You got to just next play or next game mentality.
And now, being here at Florida State, again, you haven't played a game yet, but you've been wearing the garden and gold. You look good, too, bro. You look good. Similar to what we saw at BC, but I think these colors are a little nicer. A little biased saying that. But what's it been like now being here, though? Again, what's it mean to you to be a Florida State Seminole?
It means a lot. Just off their history and all the legends that have been here, it feels great. And, hopefully I can be one of those guys, leaves my, my legacy or my mark here. So that's my goal.
Now, getting a chance to work with Coach Mike Norvell, obviously as the head coach, but your play caller is Gus Malzahn, somebody you signed up to play with at UCF when you were a younger player. What's that experience been like getting back with Coach Malzahn?
It's been great. We just continue to just build our, build our bond and come closer together and, build that chemistry so that we can build that trust that he trusts me and I trust him.
All right, so I don't know if you're a big trash-talking guy, okay? Now, I kind of was, but that's how our team was back in the days. You get after it. Okay, so who would you say on defense is the biggest trash talker?
The biggest trash talker? Yeah. We're going to go Edwin Joseph, number 3, our nickelback. He kind of let me hear it every day.
All right. I like that, number 3. That's what I used to wear. All right, TC, appreciate you, brother. Best of luck this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Great chat there. And Florida State clearly liked what they saw from Tommy Castellanos, who had over 500 yards of total offense in his 2 career starts versus the Seminoles. Now he's on the right side of things. FSU hopes he can give a much-needed spark to an offense that was a little lackluster last season, in Florida State would be the first ones to tell you that. Okay, my biggest question is, how does Tommy fit into a Gus Malzahn offense?
Well, the fit is probably going to be more with his dual threat ability. And if you look at Tommy Castellanos, that's when he's most dangerous to any defense, right? Because he can make things happen with his legs, but also him as a passer. I think he's a guy who's grown as a passer throughout his time in college football. And I also think his leadership factor, I keep talking about that. That's going to be huge for an offense that didn't do much last year. I think touchdown passes, I don't even know if they got to the double digits. And so for him to be in this offense, to have a style where he goes 1, 2, 3 in his progressions, I think we're going to see the best of Tommy Castellanos since we've watched him in college football.
I think we should too. And I am fascinated to see how Gus Malzahn and Mike Norvell marry their offenses together. Will it be all Gus? Will you get some of the Mike Norvell gap scheme runs in there as well? That's going to be really interesting. But the thing that Gus Malzahn does so well is he creates matchups for his players. He plays the numbers, and everybody kind of is doing that nowadays. with the RPO, but the way Gus Malzahn stresses you with personnel packages and formations, it creates one-on-ones. And if you can create one-on-ones for Tommy Castellanos, he is electric in the open field, had over 1,000 yards rushing a couple years ago at Boston College. So I think we could absolutely see his dual threat ability go to the next level, because they'll spread the ball out horizontally. They'll spread it out vertically. They're going to test you in the run game. They're going to find ways to get him in advantageous number situations so that he can do damage with his legs.
Well, I think his relationship with Gus Malzahn is huge here. Gus recruited him to UCF, played for him before he transferred to BC because he wanted an opportunity to play at a Power 4 school. And Tom, you'll be the first to tell you, last year I was handcuffed. I was not allowed to be my true self. And the reason he's here is because he knows this coaching staff is going to allow him to be Tommy. And something you mentioned earlier, EJ, his ability, dual threat ability, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Jordan Travis. They're not the same player, but a lot of people question Jordan. What can he do as a passer? And we saw him shine his final season. He ran, and he also grew as a passer, and I think that's what we're going to see out of Tommy this year,
you get better as a passer when you're comfortable and when you know what's coming. But the other thing that's going to be fun about this offense is the high tempo, fast pace, going quick, which, again, with that, you got to get a first down. Like, it's not great if you go 3 plays and then you got to punt. Like, you've wasted maybe 30 seconds off the clock because you're trying to go fast. Right. So for them, it's getting that first down. And also, he's going to need guys around him to play well. You bring in Deuce Robinson, Squirrel White, some receivers. Marqueston Douglas at tight end. He's back at Florida State. I think they're trying to figure out the running back room. So this offense is going to turn out some points, and they're going to get some production.
Big thing for Tommy Castellanos is he's got to cut down on the turnovers.
Right.
24 turnovers over the last 2 seasons. In his last season in college football, he's got to cut that down, but I think the playmakers around him could help with that.
You just had a great conversation with him. Biggest piece of advice you're giving the current FSU quarterback is what?
Well, my biggest piece of advice is handling the ups and downs of a game.
Right.
You know, I think one thing I've watched this summer was the Netflix show Quarterback.
Right. And
each guy talks about the ebbs and flows of the position. Everybody's excited when you throw touchdowns. Like, Doak Campbell's going to be rocking and happy, high-fiving. But what about if you throw an interception in the first drive? What about if you make a bad read early in the game? You still have to be that quarterback that's the calming force for the offense and for the team. So that's my biggest thing, handling the emotions, handling the ebbs and flows in a football game.
I think his swag is something that this team needed.
A
lot of people came down on him when he made his comments about Alabama. We saw him at Media Day. He did not back down. This is Florida State. You shouldn't be scared of anybody.
Right.
So talk your talk, and that's something that was missing last year. I kind of like that confidence that he's instilled here.
Part of the reason we love the way Tommy plays is with that swagger, that pizzazz on the field. I never want him to lose that. This is so Florida right now. The rain is now coming down. Started out the day sunny, but we're just going to continue with the weather. And I know someone Tommy is really happy to have at his disposal. One of his wide receivers, in Deuce Robinson, one of those transfers we're going to be talking about. 6'6", about 220 pounds, coming over from Southern Cal. He's going to join us on set to chat. More from Tallahassee Fall Camp, number 11 practice for the Noles. To come back to a place you know a little bit about, transferring from Southern Cal, but your dad played here. Your mom was an athlete at Florida. We won't say that really loud, but great to have you here in Tallahassee, and I know everyone's excited to watch you play this season. That's kind of where I want to start, though, is your lineage. You're obviously the product of 2 incredible athletes. What's something you've learned from dad and mom that you apply to football now?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's great to be on the show. Honestly, I think they just taught me about like what it means, what being a high-level athlete means, and what it takes to be able to be a high-level athlete. Because you know, my dad played 2 sports here. He played football and baseball, and so obviously he was having to do double time. And his time was spread thin, and I think growing up, playing multiple sports, like that really helped influence me and teach me about how valuable my time is and how important hard work is. And then my mom is just the hardest worker I know. You know, she makes sure she does everything for me and my brothers to be taken care of. She works out every single day. She's always pushing me, always motivating me to just be the best version of myself. And she's always a shoulder to lean on, someone I can talk to. I talk to her, you know, almost every day. And good times and bad times. So I'm truly just blessed to be able to have such great parents.
That's so cool. Great, man. Yeah. We saw you in the Florida State uniform when you were a little kid. You grew up a Florida State fan. Do you have a favorite Florida State memory from growing up or throughout history?
Yeah, so I've actually talked about it before. But watching the 2013 National Championship game, I got to stay up late. It was on a Monday night. I got to stay up late, even though I had school the next morning. And when Kelvin Benjamin caught that touchdown, my dad lifted me up over his shoulder. And that's something that I'll just always remember being, I don't know, 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old when that happened. It was really like one of my most fond memories of Florida State.
That's cool.
You mentioned national championship. How much of your decision to come here was to get another national championship for Florida State?
Absolutely. I believed in the vision. You know, I truly believe in what Coach Norvell, Coach Malzahn is doing. And they just showed me the plan they had, not only for me, but for the team to be successful. And the passion that they have in what they do, and us being successful beyond just football, but then on the football field. And then seeing the guys that I have around me, you know, it really just sold me on that vision. And I truly believe we have what it takes to be a really good football team.
Yeah, I know Florida State's really happy to have you, and we're so pumped to watch you in the 25 season, what you and Tommy can figure out there on the field. Thanks, Deuce.
Thank you, guys.
One thing Florida State and Mike Norvell are going to do is they're going to go portaling, and they have over the last few years found some gems in that portal. How about Jermaine Johnson was one of Mike Norvell's first key transfers, going on to win Defensive Player of the Year in the ACC in his lone season with the Noles. How about Johnny Wilson, versatile playmaker brought in from Arizona State prior to the 22 season. He immediately became a leading receiver for this team. And what about everybody's favorite guy, Mr. Personality, Jared Verse, one of the most dominant pass rushers to ever wear garnet and gold. He was an under-the-radar find out of Albany before becoming a starter here in Tally. And let's not forget about his running mate, Braden Fisk, another impact pass rusher who was a sneaky portal addition as well out of Western Michigan. And here's a look at some of the names that they took out of the portal this past offseason. We've already talked to Tommy, Deuce Robinson. They could potentially have massive seasons for the Seminoles and are expected to. Squirrel White, another one at wide receiver, and they've certainly bolstered the offensive and defensive lines, and the secondary getting a little bit of help from Jeremiah Wilson, who I've heard has been a key addition in terms of leadership on that defensive side of the ball. So if you look at some of these names, Roddy, what jumps off the page? Who?
To me, it's the offensive line that jumps out because, look, we've seen it across the country a number of times, portaling an offensive line. And it hasn't generally worked, but we've never seen a portaled offensive line like this. I mean, they brought in over 100 starts and over 6,000 snaps on that offensive line. So the experience that they've got on that group is tremendous. The question is, can it all come together? Because so much about offensive line is cohesion and all of that stuff. Can it all come together? But the fact that they got so much experience, Andrew, that's what jumped out to me from the portal edition.
And I'm glad you mentioned the experience because Florida State switched their approach with the portal this year. Last year, it didn't work. None of their portal guys were guys who were guys they could count on. And so when they went in this year, what they did last year was they went after guys who maybe had 5 stars as recruits, but not a lot of production. This year, they went after guys who were experienced and had the production, and you see that across the board, and that's why they feel a lot better about not just what they can do on the field, but as you mentioned, the leadership, the intangibles, who are guys that the younger ones can model themselves after when you're showing up here at 5:30 in the morning, like Jerry Wilson, to go in and get film study, and other guys want to be in here with him doing the same thing. That's contagious. We saw that out of Jared Verse and some of those other guys who helped build what happened in 2023. I think that's what they were looking for with this portal class.
I like they brought in guys who fit the offense and defense. You look at James Williams on the defensive line coming from Nebraska. Well, who was Nebraska's DC? It was Tony White. So you're going to see a guy who not only knows the defense, had 4 sacks last year, but also is going to be able to teach it to some of these younger guys, understanding the system and also the expectation. Then on the offensive side, we already talked about it. Tommy Castellanos was recruited by Gus Malzahn. That's important because it's one thing to teach an offense to guys in 8 months, 9 months before the season. But if you've had somebody that's been in the system, understands the expectation, they can kind of streamline that to the younger guys on the team.
Can I give you a sneaky portal addition that I think could pay big dividends for this team?
Take notes, everybody.
It'd be Stephon Thompson, the linebacker, because you mentioned guys that have played under Tony White. He played under Tony White at Syracuse, went to Nebraska, played for him. He's going to play that Mike linebacker spot. So, again, the teaching of the new defense. This is a guy that's seen it at multiple stops, different iterations, different body types from Syracuse to Nebraska to Florida State. He's seen all of that, and he's on the field. It's like having a coach on the field.
Yeah, he just has to stay healthy. That's the key for Thompson, for sure. Is there a position group that you feel like has the most to prove this upcoming season?
I'll say defensive line, not to jump you, Andrew, but if you looked at Florida State last year, they didn't apply a ton of pressure. And even in the run game, it just seemed like at times they weren't setting the edge or they weren't filtering it back inside to linebackers. We call it spilling. And so I think the defensive line really has to step up, especially against a new quarterback at Alabama. Week 1, you're playing a Ty Simpson. I think he just got announced as a starter. But he's inexperienced. I'm sure he's a good player. If you can make it hard for him, muddy up the picture, get him off his spot, Roddy, that's going to make his job a lot harder, and that's where you create turnovers too.
Can I cheat and say the quarterback position group?
I don't think it's cheating.
Look, the quarterback position for Florida State last year obviously left a lot to be desired. I think that's the understatement of the century. Tommy Castellanos last year, his play left a lot to be desired. He was last in the ACC in QBR. Both of those things coming together. It's why I think that marriage fits so well, because both of them have a chip on their shoulder, Florida State in general and then Tommy Castellanos. But the quarterback position has a lot to prove. Yeah.
All right, we'll see what happens and how it pans out. You mentioned the defensive line. I know a guy who can talk about that defensive line, and that is Tony White, who's set to join us here on set as we continue our fall camp tour at the Dunlap practice facility. There he is, entering his first season as the FSU DC. Go off that statistic. What makes a top 25 defense when it's all said and done at the end of a season?
You know what? Number one, it's an honor to be here amongst you. Great to be back in the ACC. You know, and just in terms of those numbers, number one is players. I've been so fortunate to be around some really good student athletes, really good football players, guys who really were good teammates, ambassadors of the game. And then I was around some great coaches. And, you know, we were able to just kind of come together, see things all on the same page, and then go out there and build something together and let the guys go out there and play fast. So.
Well, take us through what the process has been like since you arrived in Tallahassee. You're building a defense basically from the ground up. You got new players in. You're evaluating old players. What has the process been like to set the foundation for what the Florida State defense is going to be in 25? You
know, the great thing about this place is that Coach Norvell and his vision, you know, it has worked. You've seen the success, you know, so it wasn't about this massive overhaul. It was just more about tweaking things and making sure that the standard is upheld, you know, and being able to mesh with guys like JP and Odell and Ernie Sims and Greg Moss, and then bring the crew over, Zach Arnett, Kevin McGarry, T. Knight and Coop. I think everybody being all in the room at the same time, all the great football coaches we have, you know, just laying down the way we want to do it. You know what I mean? Making sure that it's always about the players, make sure it's easy so that way they can go out there and play as fast as they can.
To that end, if you had one word to describe your defensive philosophy, what would it be, and how does that translate to what Florida State's going to look like this year?
Dre, we want to be aggressive. I mean, we want to attack. You know, we want to attack. You know, these offenses are so creative, and in the ACC, the quarterback play, the different types of offenses you see from what SMU is doing to what Georgia Tech is doing, you got to be aggressive. You can't just sit back in zone and let guys just pick you apart. So we want to try to pick our times to be really, really, really aggressive and just let the guys play.
When you look at this group, it all starts on the defensive line. You got a couple of guys, one that you're familiar with from Nebraska, James Williams, coming with you, Darrell Jackson as well. From a defensive line standpoint, how have they been able to set the tone for you going into the season?
Yeah, I think T. Knight's done a great job. Dimitri Emmanuel as well. You know, and obviously Coach Hagan's the GOAT. You know, I think all of them, first off, making sure that they understand we got something to prove on defense. Yeah. You know, period, plain and simple. We better come out there with an edge, with an attitude, number one. And then you got older guys who, obviously the experience, right? The game is a little slower for them. So really it's just for them about learning the X's and O's and where they fit. And they're great leaders for the young guys. You know, we got a lot of young talent, really, really talented freshmen, And so being able to have the old guys who are here, the transfers that came in mixed with the young talent, and I think it's going to be a good deal for them.
Yeah, Coach, I know you have dudes at every single level, and we're so excited to see how it comes together in 25. Welcome back to the ACC.
Well, I'm back in the ACC.
Let's go.
Offensive coordinators in the ACC are not so lucky.
No.
They're all different. I don't know. I got to get a better game plan. Let's see what's up.
Thanks,
Great
Coach.
to see you guys. Great to see you.
So Tony White looks to overhaul a Florida State defense that, we'll just say, didn't play its best football last season. You see the numbers, allowed 28 points per game. They had the third worst turnover margin at the FBS level. It doesn't help that they were on the field a ton as well. So a lot of minutes spent out there trying to defend. So we turn the page to this season. Andrea, Where does Florida State need to be better defensively, simply put?
Well, one of the things Tony White told me initially when he got here was in watching the tape, he just didn't see a unit that was playing all together. There was no cohesion. There was no chemistry. There was no communication. They were completely disconnected. And so one of his first orders of business was to try and create that type of chemistry that is absolutely needed for a defense so that all three levels are playing together and as one. So we'll see if that happens here in week 1.
The short answer is everywhere. And obviously scheme with Tony White, it's going to be based 3-3-5. They're going to have some flexibility. You're going to see odd front. You're going to see even front. But the big thing is they need to play hard. And I think you could say that about this Florida State team in general. But defensively, so much about defense isn't about scheme. It's about effort. It's about want to. It's about winning one-on-one battles. And it felt like Florida State didn't do enough of that last year. Good players help that, but also an attitude helps that. Cohesion helps that. Coaching helps that. Culture helps that. So all of that will have been addressed in the offseason, EJ.
My biggest emphasis is takeaways. You know, you see a turnover margin minus 16. That's really bad.
Yeah.
132 out of 134. Not great.
And that's not Florida State football. So this year you have 4 total interceptions in last season. And I think you also have 4 forced fumbles. That's got to change. I would love to see 4 turnovers in the first game against Alabama. You know, I think for a defense, and Roddy, you talk about the effort. Sometimes as defenders, when you just have effort, when you're flying to the football, you end up getting rewarded, with a forced fumble or with a pick because you're in the right spot. You're playing hard. And I think that's something that Tony White has said in his post-practice interviews about the ball just sometimes goes your way. And if you're not giving that effort, it won't. It goes to somebody else. And sometimes the offense gets lucky.
You can also create some of that with some of the scheme flexibility that they'll have, creating matchups, particularly on third downs. You have to be good on first and second down, so you have the right to rush the passer on third down. And most turnovers happen on third down. So I think all of that will play into it.
Yeah, I think also they got to create some type of fear. Like this defense, when teams come into Doak Campbell, there has to be a fear from offensive coordinators and from offenses to say, look, we can't be leaky on offense. We got to be tight in everything we do. We can't have, pre-snap penalty because now it's 3rd and 14, so now we're going to give up a sack and the quarterback's going to force the ball, then they get an interception. Give some short fields to this offense, create some type of fear factor, and hopefully that's what they're able to do with the multiple defense that he has.
That's one thing Tommy Castellano said last year when BC played here on that Monday night. They were not scared or intimidated by Florida State, and that has to change.
When you talk about Florida State, obviously the teams you played on, the teams I played against, the teams after you, those teams had guys that struck fear in your heart. You thought, if Derwin James is coming downhill, I got to be on my game to make sure that I'm as good as I can. If Jared Verse is coming off the edge, you're exactly right, EJ. I could not agree more with that. They absolutely need that.
Again, we think they have the pieces, but like you just said, Andrea, it's how does it come together cohesively on the field August 30th against Alabama? We will find out soon. How about new digs for the Noles? We all love bright, shiny new things. They're getting that here. We got
future and really plan and provide opportunities for growth even as things change in the future, that we wanted to have space, that if a new technology came, we had the space to put it in and took the ideas, what's worked, talked to many, and then kind of put it on steroids and said, you got this, we want to go a little bigger and make it better. And it's providing the resources to our student athletes so they can have that experience of Florida State. EJ and I talked about earlier just when you come to campus, how beautiful campus is, and you have that. And we needed to provide that experience in our football facilities and all of our facilities. So we're really on a facility upgrade across the board and have a vision just to provide those to get it to an elite level.
Well, Michael, you mentioned that for the players, but also the fan experience inside Doak. I know you're really excited to unveil that week 1.
Yes, it's coming out. We got a little sneak peek coming out this Saturday, and it is really going to be a fan experience to a different level. We lead the country. This is a little fact. 60% of our fan base travels over 3.5 hours to get here on a Saturday. We have to provide that experience for them to come because that's not only a time commitment, but an economic commitment that they're making. And so the experience that we're now going to be able to provide in there with the space, we got 8 new clubs, we got everything going on that you can pick and choose what experience you want to enjoy here at Doak Campbell Stadium. So providing those resources to our fan base was also very important.
EJ mentioned week 1, Alabama is coming here. Just how big is it to be able to host a non-conference game like that here in Tallahassee, but also to set the tone for what you hope Florida State football looks like this year?
Well, you know, Florida State, we're going to play the best. And we're constantly looking to play different teams across the country. We opened with LSU. We opened with Alabama. We got Georgia on the schedule. I got some other things in the works that we'll be announcing in the future. But we're constantly looking to take that brand and compete with the best brands in the country. And I think that's very important. I think it's very important for the conference that we play brand on brand, that we go out and showcase Florida State football. So having Alabama come here, is, you know, it's going to be a treat. And they've never been to Doak Campbell Stadium. So having them, being able to host them, show them what our vision has been for the program, and continue to climb as we provide those resources to take it to a level where we think intercollegiate athletics is going to be in 5 or 6 years.
So, Michael, you mentioned in 5 years. I mean, we've had changes even now with rev share and NIL, all the changes that have come along with that. I know your desk is always full. How's that transition been from now basically paying the players, you know, as an institution versus just NIL and those opportunities?
Well, we're fortunate. I have NFL experience. Right. Bruce Warwick has NFL experience coming here from the Rams as our chief of staff. So we anticipated this and kind of got ahead of it in a game plan. It's kind of like our facilities. We anticipated the House settlement 3-4 years ago and said, when we come out of this, the game is going to change. The economics of the game is going to change, and we need to be prepared for it. Not only in what we're able to provide our players, and I'm a full fan of it. I agree with the settlement. And so that game's going to change. But then coming out of it, we had to be prepared facility-wise to also take advantage. I'm a good to great guy. I'm a double down. When you see a recession, you invest. Right. And you come out of that recession more advanced and in a better opportunity to have success than your peers. And that was part of the reasoning. Double down on the stadium, double down on the resources we're providing our student athletes. So when the game changes, we're in a better position to have that opportunity to have success.
Like Florida State certainly is.
Oh, yeah.
Really the hardest question we're going to ask you, where are you going to watch this Alabama game in this new...
There's 8 of them, 30 rows off the field. The founder loge boxes are right there with the new club, the field level club. And so we have a lot of opportunities to go and entertain. So I love away games, because away games I actually get to watch. Home games, I'm on the move constantly and don't get to see a lot of the game action. But you know, it's providing those different experiences. As a fan coming in now, traveling to Tallahassee, you get to choose what your experience wants to be. And there's so many different options, and I'm so excited to reveal that this coming up Saturday in our sneak peek.
And I think you might have a new season ticket holder in the future.
I was working on him. I was working on him.
Michael, thank you so much. Good luck this season.
No, thank you all. Thank you all for everything you do for the conference and the network, and truly appreciate it. And go Noles.
Hospitality here is always top notch. We appreciate it. We're less than 3 weeks away from Alabama's first ever trip here to Tallahassee, but who's counting? Earlier this offseason, quarterback...
Some of that came out in the offseason with quotes you were on with On 3 with Pete Nakos. And had some comments about Alabama, you know, saying that you're confident in your team. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing, that they don't have Nick Saban to save them. Where do those comments come from, and what's been the fallout or pushback or whatever the result of those?
The confidence comes from just me and my teammates being able to go out there every day and have that edge and that desperateness to go out there and work. And I'm so confident in what we are and what we become, just because like I said, I want no disrespect to Boston College or the guys that I played with, but I've never had a 6'6" wide receiver that can move just as well as Deuce can. I don't have a Squirrel White that can run as fast and moves like he can. And I can go so on with the roster of weapons that Coach Norvell has put around me. And I'm just used to guys, you know, playing zone defense. We, you know, huddling and we playing slow. But Coach Gus Malzahn, we moving a fast-paced offense. We got weapons. Like, I just think it's going to be scary. And the work that we put in, and especially up front with the guys that I have, with, you know, how veteran they are, it just excites me and it gives me confidence to be able to speak how I speak and I talk how I talk, because, I mean, we out there working every day, and I can see the edge that every guy brings to the table. And I just like the fire that the guys have every time I go in the locker room. It's exciting, it's happy, it's fun. It just feels different.
You can see Roddy's full conversation with Tommy right after this show ends, 8 o'clock here on ACC Network. Good little chat there. Listen, I like this fight. How do you feel as a QB hearing Tommy say what he says and then what he says in follow-up?
I love it. One, because you have to have confidence as a quarterback. Also, your teammates are going to follow you behind you. Now, it wouldn't have been my approach. I always would like to just kind of let my play and all that kind of stuff on the field do the talking. But we live in an age where, look, you got social media and somebody asks you the question, he answers it honestly. So would we prefer him to say, oh, I hope I can get a yard against Alabama? No, man, look, I don't know if they can stop me. So I'm going to be the guy that's going to be a difference maker. Now he has to go out there and follow up on it.
Yeah, I want the guy who wants to go into the trenches and thinks he can
Absolutely.
win and feels like he knows he can win. Okay, we're projecting to the 2025 season and talking about success for Florida State. This season is successful for Florida State if blank Andrea ladies first.
They got to dominate up front on the offensive and defensive line. Last year, we were told those were the two strongest units, and it never came to fruition. So now with the changes they've made at coordinator, but also the additions they made in the transfer portal, we've talked about the experience on the offensive line. They have to set the tone up front. They have to be able to run the football. They have to be able to get after the quarterback. If they can do that, I think everything else will come around and get them to have some success this year.
I do as well. Those two units setting the tone helps do the thing that I think Florida State needs to do, which is regain the edge. Think about the great Florida State teams of the past. We talked about it, man. There was an edge to those teams. And even the recent great team, the 13-0 team in 2023, that team was built in 2022 and 2021 with guys that had a chip on their shoulder and a program that had to grind to get back to where it belonged at the top of college football. The team had an edge, and the leaders set that. The confidence set that. There was a work and certainly a belief that they could do it. But I think outside of X's and O's, they got to regain an edge in the way that they play because the talent is there. The coaching staff's phenomenal. They've obviously got the resources, but that edge is what was missing last year.
I agree with you both. For me, is this team going to be mentally tough enough and also mature enough to handle the ups and downs of a season? This is a team that won 2 games last year. So naturally the expectation is going to be, all right, well, you got to go out there and win 10 now just to make it better. Hey, man, just go out and win the first game. And then whatever happens with that one, you move on to the next week. You move on to the next week. That comes with experience and maturity. And I think when you have leaders on this football team that can kind of bring it in as far as the reins, because, look, if you have a bunch of success early, well, what's going to happen? Everybody's going to start kind of sitting back a little bit, dropping their shoulders. Nah, we got to keep that same intensity because everybody around you is going to be patting you on the back. So that's my hope. Stay mentally tough, but also stay mature and get through the entire year.
Yeah, people love to ask the question, especially leading into a season. What do you think Florida State or X team's win total is going to be? I always say, I have no idea, but it starts with the first game. If they do all of those 3 things that you guys just mentioned, the wins will come. And I think you can all agree with that. My thing is, and nobody asked for my opinion, they're going to win some games. Yeah. And it's certainly going to be better than last year. No one asked for my opinion. Fans don't fold. As long as the fans don't fold.
I'm desperate. They're desperate. Everybody's putting all their chips in this basket on this season.
Welcome into a special edition of ACC Huddle. I'm Roddy Jones, joined by new quarterback at Florida State University.
Yes, sir.
Thomas Castellanos. I got to start here, though. Thomas or Tommy? What are we going with?
A lot of people call me Tommy, and a lot of people be like, oh, do you want to be called Thomas or Tommy? It don't really matter to me.
So in doing research, obviously you Google the person that you're going to talk to. Boston College, you're listed as Thomas. It was notable that you were listed as Tommy on the Florida State website. Was that something that you told them you wanted to be?
It's just something that my guys at Florida State use more frequently, so it's something they'd be comfortable with. So I just said we could just go with Tommy.
Okay, I like Tommy. We'll go with Tommy. So I want to start at the beginning because you're not the biggest guy. You're one of the most athletic, certainly in the ACC. How'd you become a quarterback?
So growing up, usually what everybody does, like from park ball to like middle school, they put their best athlete at quarterback and just kind of like let them run the show. So it started like that, and then for the love of the game, I just, I started loving the position and loving the responsibilities that come with it, and it just went from there.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those situations like line up everybody and see who could throw it the farthest.
Oh, no.
No, sir. And you won?
No.
What age was that you started playing?
It was like started playing football or quarterback?
Both.
I started playing football at the age of 6.
Okay.
And then I started playing quarterback at the age of like 8 or 9.
Okay.
Yeah, the first 2 years of me ever playing football, I was a little bit chunky, so I played right guard.
Chunky?
Yeah, I used to be a big boy.
So did you thin out by 8 or 9?
Well, yeah. So the story was, my first time ever playing, like I have a brother that's a little bit older than me, and he like a year and a half older than me. So he played 7 and 8 tackle, and I played my first year ever playing was 6 years old. But I played with 7 and 8 tackle, and I was blocking for him, and he was scoring all the touchdowns, getting all the love and the fame. The first 2 years, and then I guess I got a little jealous. I was like, I want to score touchdowns, and I want some the next 2 years or whatnot, and then that third year I was the quarterback and he was the running back. And I lost a little bit of weight and got a little fast.
So were there handoffs that were called that you saw something and you pulled so that you would get the touchdown and not your brother?
So we played with each other in middle school and high school as well. Yeah. He would get mad at me because he would run the ball all the way down to the goal line, and then they would call like a quarterback run play, and I would score the touchdown.
That's all. Did your brother play in college?
No, he don't play in college.
Yeah, but I'm sure he's one of your big supporters. So you start playing quarterback. I'm sure over the course of your career, was there ever a time where a coach wanted to move you to a different position? I mean, you're such a good athlete. You're so dynamic with the ball in your hands. It's just natural. I mean, you kind of came up at a great time because athletic quarterbacks have become in and everybody's embraced them. But was there a time that somebody tried to move you?
Most definitely. So growing up through like middle school, play quarterback, high school, play only quarterback, and then through the recruitment process, like some of those bigger Power 5, like SEC schools wanted to, play me at a different position, and I said no.
Yeah.
I didn't want
to. Good for you. How many schools wanted, like how many?
So I would say in total I had like 14, 15 offers.
How many quarterback?
It was a good bit.
Yeah.
The only ones like Florida State was one of them, UGA was one of them, and like so on, like schools like that. Like the bigger schools wanted me to be like a DB or a slot receiver or something like that, to be able to just be everywhere. And then I just, I couldn't do that.
You end up going to UCF. Gus Malzahn is the head coach there. Sir. We'll talk about the reuniting of you two at Florida State. But what convinced you that you could play quarterback at that level, and why was UCF the choice with Coach Malzahn?
Because I had a lot of other options to play quarterback that was, Power 5 and stuff like that. So it gave me the confidence. And then, I played quarterback my whole life, and what really drove me to continue to play quarterback is other people's stories like Lamar Jackson and stuff like that. And when you tell me no, I'm one of those kids that was like, yes, like if you say me not to touch it, I'm gonna touch it. And then when you tell me no, I can't do something, I'm like, I'm gonna show you I can. So that kind of like drove me to show everybody that I can play quarterback and I can, do what I do.
Well, it feels like that drive that you see on the field that you see today, it feels like that comes from being the little brher a little bit, from having your older brother come up. I mean, is that what you trace it back to?
I mean, most definitely. I think earlier was speaking about it. I come from a single mother family of 11, got a lot of older brothers, and, just always been around that competitive mindset and being, pushed by my older siblings and stuff like that is where, that dog mentality, it comes out, and, that's where I get it from.
So where are you in the line of 11?
I'm number 7.
Wow, man.
There's 6 boys in total and 5 girls. I think it made me who I am today, of just like outgoing and being, my character and stuff like that, and being super energetic and goofy, just because I was always around a lot of a lot of siblings and stuff like that. So we always fought and we always, got along and joked around and played and stuff like that. So I think it kind of, rubs off on who I am today.
It's a lot of ticket requests for every game.
Most definitely. I definitely need extra tickets every game.
Is there a group chat amongst everybody?
No, we definitely got a family group. Yeah, well, you're talking on the team?
Yeah.
Well,
I know what that's like.
Yeah, well, hopefully I get to